Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Tyrone Rotary Club 10th January 2024, live from beautiful town of Tyrone, Georgia, USA. At this time, President Rick has asked me to conduct a radio check. That means all of you from across the Atlantic Ocean in Africa, Cameroon, and Liberia, unmute your phone and just check in. Let me make sure that you can hear us loud and clear, and we can also hear you loud and clear.
I hear you guys.
Thank you. And who is this?
Princess Yako.
From?
Liberia.
Thank you. Next person, please.
Hello, this is Pastor Gosim from Liberia.
Thank you. Welcome to the
meeting. Are you getting me, Chairman?
Loud and clear. Welcome to the meeting. Who's next?
Okay.
Aga Rose from Cameroon, President.
Aga Rose from Cameroon, President, JRCCA. Thank you. Welcome.
Tifo Beatrice, Vice Chair Lady, Tyrone Rotary Club, Georgia, USA, in Simbok, Cameroon. Yaoundé.
Tifo Beatrice, a member of the Tyrone Rotary Club based in Cameroon, Yaoundé. Excellent. Welcome to the meeting. Who else?
Thank you.
Okay. That being said, I will now advise all to put your phones on mute, and then I will turn this over to President of the Tyrone Rotary Club, Honorable Rick Sacco.
Hey.
I want to welcome everyone from the United States here with us today, and also from Liberia and Cameroon, where we have our honorary members. Would everyone please rise for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, you may be seated. Do we have any prayer?
Bob has COVID. Oh, no. He's okay, but this is like third time, probably in 6 or 7 months.
Well, we'll remember Bob. He's at home.
Yes.
That's good.
And Bob Johnson, our prospective new member for months now, is still, I'm not sure, but I think his father died. He was with his father for, he said 55 days. I know his father was sick, his caregiver was sick, so he had no one except Bob to take care of him. So, but now he had been back home and he's gone back again. And I just gathered that this time it's for all the probate and everything. So he will be back on the 23rd, and hopefully we'll get to induct him at our next meeting.
Well, we haven't actually voted on Bob. Go through the process. And
you sent out I thought you sent that out a long time ago. Okay.
I don't remember having done that.
Okay.
Okay. So
quickly, let's do it before he gets indicted, because he's expected. Do we have a member? He thinks he's a member.
Well, he is. Basically, we thought it was.
We'll pass around the pot of gold. It's a explain bill. This money is used for our library here in Tyrone.
Oh, happy birthday.
Bob and Bob, both Bobs, and our speaker today, Bill, Bob, and Bill.
Please, that'd be great.
All right. This is for everybody who is present today, and especially for Bob for speedy recovery, and our team in Cameroon, Liberia, and of course, the team in Liberia, in Cameroon, they lose one of their Rotary president, chairman, Plumo, and we remember him, and it's part of us. So more details will come.
One for Bill. Thank you for coming to be here. Thank you. And the rest is for this club. Yeah. Oh,
Something too. We don't expect our. Yes. For all brothers and sisters around the world, and those who are with us today, and for those who are concerned about and celebrations of this community. Excellent. Okay.
And I'm proud of both of my daughters. The one finishing seminary at Emory University. Sandra and I heard her preach for the first time at the beautiful Trinity Presbyterian Church in Buckhead.
you don't have to strike
If it were going to happen, it would happen.
Want me to say the prayer?
Yes, please.
I brought my partner. Sometimes she likes to sing, so I allow her to do that. Let's close our eyes and call for the Holy Spirit. Oh God, we know that you are present. You have promised that where two or more are gathered, so you are in us. You are there in Liberia. You are there this morning, especially. Pray for those who have been mentioned who are ill. May you be with them by their side. Oh God, we know that you are with suffering in the Middle East and other parts of our world. And you are calling us. People of God said,
That's really known, RC. Before the end of the month. Mom Celine had a birthday.
On the first, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Lee Dodds.
All right.
Week. Our role is primarily going to be raising funds. So we're going to apply for a global grant. And we have a host club in
Yaoundé, Cameroon.
Cameroon. And then we will be the international partner. So most of what we need to do is help raise some money. And then the foundation will match them and give us, we'll be able to provide, help me with it. Clean water.
Clean water, renovation.
Renovation, schooling, for women and children. There's some other, there also were some displaced people still living in the jungle around the silver influence for we would also so we're doing that. Wonderful. And then we also are doing a district grant where we're getting library books for the Tyrone Library.
I'm not going to regurgitate what's already been for upcoming programs in our agenda for today. And without any further ado, Sandra, I'd like for you to introduce our speaker.
Bill is my pew friend. At church, he always sits right in front of me, so we get to chat. It's just a pleasure to introduce my friend today. Bill Plitt served as a Peace Corps volunteer in Central America from 1964 to 66. He's an author, and for more than 40 years, he worked as a classroom teacher, school administrator, and college professor. He's very active in his church, where he frequently brings his friends to play for us. He's very good on the horn. And he has served as vice moderator of the Presbyterian Church Israel-Palestine Mission Network. He has traveled regularly during the past 17 years to Jordan, Israel, and the occupied territories. And he's here today to tell us about some of those travels and his history. Welcome, Bill.
Thank you. Thank you so much, and Sandra and Rick for inviting me. Yes, Carol, you okay?
Yeah. Do you want some water? No, good.
Sorry. Oh, it's okay. Thanks again to Sandra and Rick for inviting me to come here today. I know of the Notary Club's mission. I feel like we need to multiply these groups because community is very important. And you do a tremendous, I looked on your Facebook to see what you've been doing, and I'm very impressed with the service and hear your grant offering as well. It's very encouraging. So I'm glad for that because I think relationships, as a good friend of mine, John Richardson says, relationships are the alchemy of life. They turn the dailiness of life into gold. And I believe that it's clear in your work here, and I appreciate that. That's the model that we've held on to for more than 55 years. So I'm coming not to talk about the obvious, perhaps, about Gaza and what's going on in Palestine at this point in time. My mission in life is to emphasize the light, not the darkness. And I feel like that I hope that you walk away from this meeting with more questions about the situation there that we're all facing and feeling today. I can stay longer if you like to talk more about how I view what's going on, but it's not going to be part of my presentation. I have a couple of assumptions about my work and mission in life. I've retired now 3 times. First time in 62. I'm 62 in 2002, and I retired 2 more times after incredible experience in Palestine in 2006 when I first went to visit with an eyewitness Palestine group, an interfaith group of Jews, Christians, and Muslims, and heard a story that I hadn't heard before. So I'm going to share a little bit more about what I learned in those first days, what has perpetuated my work. As I mentioned, I believe that we are people of faith and that we are called to be where there is a great need for understanding. As I mentioned, prefer to talk about the light rather than darkness, meaning that the darkness doesn't have the last word. So, so that's a little bit of background. I mentioned before, I had an awakening. My first trip there in 2006, but it goes back much further. I was in the classroom, and let me know where you were in 2001. It was a momentous day in the life of our world, in the life of our community throughout this country. And a student came up to me and I knew she was from Palestine. She was a Muslim, and she said, no one else was in the room. She said, you know, Mr. Cliff, I'm sorry for your losses in New York, in the fields of Philadelphia, and in the Pentagon. But maybe now people might know more about what Palestinians and Israelis live each day. I didn't know what that meant, and it wasn't until 2006, and I traveled with this interfaith group that I began to understand what she was trying to say. Pictures out front of some of the landscape in Palestine, especially. The first night in Jerusalem, we were driving from the airport. Have any of you been to Palestine? Oftentimes there's someone. Well, I had lots of impressions. I was seeing walls. I was seeing lots of weapons and jeeps, long lines in one side of an entrance and short lines in another. I was really struck by that because I was first seeing. And about 4 o'clock in the morning, I woke up to the call to prayer, which is very peaceful and spiritual throughout the area, around the old city. And I got up, felt inspired. When my wife says that when I'm inspired, I write freely and from my heart. And so I wrote this poem and share with you, knowing that walls don't necessarily encourage communication. And it's a poem's called Initial Impressions in the Sand. You can have a part of this if you like. What's it called? Walls, lines, fences, borders, all projects of separation, not communications, nor love, or reconciliation, lie surrounding our vision with distinction deeply embedded by history, long-held fears, preparations, walls, lines, fences, borders. What are these hopeless signs of hopeless frustration, if not some fabrication of humankind's recognition of promises kept and broken, deeply rooted for pain, greed, and thoughtless action. Like the olive tree that had seen many centuries, seasons long and broken, lie and roots, walls, lines, fences, borders. Who are the people of these demarcations that produce these myths, these stories and conversations that continue to extend the feeling of separation, desperation, frustration, walls, lines, fences, borders? Where is this promised land of milk and honey within these feelings of separation, desperation, separation? Maybe it lies here, with people who come to be present with those who mourn. Maybe these walls, lines, fences, and borders melt, disappear like other. I gave each of you, I didn't have enough for my friends in Liberia and Cameroon, but I gave each person here in this room a picture. And what I'd like you to do is to look at that picture and what strikes you about that as you see it. What does that picture say to you? Now, I'm going to call on you from 1 to 7, the number in the bottom of your picture. And I'll come take the picture from you, and you can share if you'd like. What is it about that picture that strikes you as you? Now, what this represents is my travels there from E Creek, which is number 1, down to the Negev Desert. Traveled there, many trips that I took. Sometimes I was with a tour group. Sometimes I was in the private car. Sometimes I was walking. Sometimes it was my bicycle as I cycled around, attempted to cycle around the Sea of Galilee. I'm always looking for the light. So what you'll see after this sharing of pictures and impressions, a sense for the, I think, a very holistic experience in all parts of the north to the south, east to the west. So that's number 1. Okay, Bob. Yeah. So what is the picture? What grabs you, Bob, as you see this?
Well, first of all, you look at it, it looks like a picture from home. You would never know where that location is.
Yeah.
By looking at that.
Uh-huh.
But you do see the fence behind them. So I don't know what that fence is for, whether it's to keep people out or it's just there for looks. But as far as what you see there, that's not really what's happening.
Well, very astute. And would you like to know more about that?
Yeah.
This is from a village called the Creek. That's 16 miles from the Lebanese border in the north. And in 1948, there was what the Palestinians called the Nakba, which was a disaster when over 500 villages were emptied and 750,000 Palestinians scattered throughout the world, and then went to Lebanon. And in most cases, the villages were destroyed completely. Houses eventually by 52 were removed visibly from each of them. But in this particular village, they kept their cemetery and their church. And so while there's no one living in that area, there are neighboring villages where people are living, and they come there for their worship service and for funerals. And I happened to be there for a funeral of one of the veterans. So hope is alive in those forms. A rarity. Number 2, right here. Okay. Yes. A little known fact is that there are Palestinians who live in Israel, the state of Israel. 20% of the Israeli population are Palestinians with Israeli citizenship passports. And this family lives in Haifa, which is in the north, just south of the Creek. And I met one of the young people in this family, the Harun family, who are Christian, living in a Druze village, which is kind of a combination of Hinduism, Buddhism, and Christianity. The folks are very dedicated people. Many of them serve in the Israeli army. But this family is a Christian family and get along quite well in their community. They are all college educated. People in the Middle East value education. And I happened to meet the oldest daughter, Sakura, in Washington, D.C. when we were living there. And Sakura was a social worker working in Israeli prisons with Palestinians. She also had a master's degree in social work. She was coming to the United States to go to the university to get a degree in conflict resolution. She finished after 5 years, spent a good deal of time in our home in Arlington, Virginia. And when I went to Israel, I, of course, was welcomed in their home, experienced the hospitality that people in that region are known for, and became pretty good friends. But Sakura has been working with the United Nations in that area, putting her heart and her skills together to work to better understand each other. Okay, 3.
I have number 3.
What does your...
Well, in the spirit of your poem, those red ends on the pipes there, whatever they are, represent some sort of barrier. Something needs to come out of there. And so I'm guessing it's going to be water or gas or some sort of fuel. And perhaps they're celebrating that they're going to get this, whatever.
Wonderful. That's a wonderful analysis. Great job. And this is a place called Ben Hamina, and it is a site of a village and a kibbutz. In 1952, a group of 100 emigres from Argentina came to this region, and they parked their kibbutz right next to this village because they knew nothing about agriculture. They were young, adventurous folks with no skills in that area. And they said, you know, we were supposed to be fighting each other, but let's first figure out how we can live together, and then we can fight afterwards. So, so life went on. The kibbutz shared their space, their swimming pools, and they played soccer together. An unusual kind of experience, and one that caught my attention because of the uniqueness of their relationship. In 2004, just 2 years before I went to that area, a nationalist, a Palestinian nationalist, came onto the kibbutz and killed the Secretary General and 2 children. Oh, it was a catastrophe for sure for everyone who lived in that area. He was the assassin was not from the village, was from a distant village, and what followed next was reflective, I think, the deep friendship that they had developed over time. They came and sat Shiva, which is a period of time of mourning or loss of their loved ones. You would have thought that that would have ended the relationship. Well, it didn't, because that night of the assassination of the Israeli leaders of the kibbutz offered to go to the village or to the government officials there in Egypt, because the wall that was being constructed was going to cut the Palestinians off from their farms. And so, so that was the issue brought before the council, and with that tragedy that was canceled. About 6 months later, the sewage, because of the wall, was built up in the village on the other side of it. And what the Israeli Quds leaders did was to offer to underneath the wall, put in their open aeration pits and pump it back up so that they could use it for their olive. And to this day, there's this sense of community, there are different perspectives.
So the red things had nothing to do with it.
A lot to do, because one of the things, thank you for mentioning the Israeli kibbutz people found that they didn't have any water. And they went to the council and said, can you help us there? And they said, well, we have this small well and we'd be glad to share it with you. Well, I went back because I was hearing the Israeli position all the time. I wasn't so sure that the Palestinians were feeling quite as good about the relationship. My surprise, that next year, Avital, Secretary General of the Quds, arranged for me to meet in the home of the council. I went there thinking that I was going to write another article about this, written one for Christian Century. When I first went there, talking about this relationship. And after about 2 minutes, I threw my tape recorder away, my notepad, because I discovered this relationship was deep. I needed to be part of it. So we went, as we left that evening, we went to the well, the cistern, and this is the one they've shared ever since.
Well, it is water.
Yes, it is water. So the interesting thing is that the city water that they get, that this doesn't come anywhere near the taste value of water that they share together. There's a metaphor in some way. So that's that. Number 4, Carol.
Well, when I first looked at it, I can't really tell because of the building. First thing I saw was the flag it has there.
Yes.
And because I couldn't tell it.
You're doing
What
great.
was at the top or
You're doing great.
awesome. And then I looked at the people or behind the people. I did not see anything more. I can't tell if the lady is squinting because of the sunshine or if, because he's got kind of a smirk on his face. So I really can't tell if what they're doing. Because I guess if I was standing there with our flag that has that, I wouldn't have that.
Well, good. Well,
In the background, there's
yes,
no
wow.
evidence of war. And I don't know if that black thing is about her. Well, you can't really tell.
Yeah.
And but she doesn't have much expression at all.
Okay.
And is unlike, it would be like you come to see us with the spot. So I can't tell where they really are and what they're thinking is going to happen to them, others around them.
Yes.
And the only fence is when you see the wall.
Yes.
That's it. And, but yet it saddens me because the many things.
Well, thank you for that. And without having any knowledge about that certainly painted a picture that speaks to you. This is a family at 48, actually in 1952, between 48 and 52. The Palestinians were living in block tents first, those folks who came back from their exile. They were in camps, refugee camps sponsored by the United Nations. That's the flag there. And this gentleman here, his name is Weah, this is my name too, was the superintendent of this particular camp. It's just outside, it's in the city of Bethlehem. It's called Ida camp. And she was a math teacher in a girls' school, right? So we're in the school there near the tomb of so you can see the walls on the other side of that is this is in the city of Bethlehem. Got to know that family pretty well over the years, and their daughter came to the U.S. and went to Fletcher School in Harvard, got a PhD in international law and rights. And with that, she went to the Palestinian Authority as ambassador to Europe. Wonderful family. Another wonderful relationship for us. Number 5,
Yes, sir. Well, this depiction is a gentleman and a child, and the caption, camp number 5, suggests possibly a refugee camp. However, they look like they're blessed with lots of groceries. So I could also interpret that as father and son. There is some resemblance. But if he's a caregiver, he's a very generous caregiver to this young boy who doesn't particularly suffering very much. So am I off base with a refugee camp?
Whatever your answer is good for me. You're very sensitive to this picture. In fact, this is Muhammad. He now has a doctorate PhD in Spanish, and he is teaching Spanish in university. And I was on one of my solo trips to the village outside of Bethlehem, and I had known Muhammad. He had invited me to have dinner with him and his nephew, and meet his father, who was very sick. And about a week later, I went to this village, Busan, just outside of Bethlehem, and I was astounded by the fact that in that village there were Israeli settlers who were doing business with the Arab businessmen, apparently meeting a need for both for products and also for skills that the people in the settlements did not have. And this young man who was about 15 or 16 caught me as I was walking through the village. But I was trying to intimidate him, yes. Not the usual experience for anybody, just a young teenager just trying to play with me. Obviously not an Israeli or Palestinian. And I sort of fell down, backed up to a wall, and I suddenly asked him, where was he in high school? Where he was in high school? And it happened to be nearby. And I said, you know Mr. Muhammad? Oh yes, he's my principal. All of a sudden, a relationship we became great friends. So that's a memory. still stay in touch. Okay, number 6.
Right here.
Yes.
The rock says we refuse to be enemies.
Yes.
What interests me is that's English.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how that appeared there in English versus the other language there. It also looks to be either a private property or just because you see the fence laying down there, but it's not barbed wire fence. It would be almost like chicken wire fence versus barbed wire. So I find that interesting how the print came to be on that.
Yes. Well, this particular picture is a farm 7 miles southwest of Bethlehem. And the delegation I was with was again, an interfaith peace builders. And we were called to visit that farm and to harvest olives and spend the night. This is 3,000 feet of the Mediterranean, beautiful, surrounded by settlements, and some 45,000 settlers where this bigger farm is. And the Nassars did wise things back in 1916. They purchased the land, and unlike most Palestinians, whose tradition was not to fill out papers or make because they would wind up paying pretty high taxes. So it was supposed to be exchange of land was a handshake. And so Palestinians, by and large, don't have a recorded record of their ownership of land, which makes them more vulnerable. But in this case, Dawood Nassar, who's the man that we got to know pretty well, was very fortunate to show his ownership to the authorities. But since 1991, they've been the courts, including the Supreme Court, trying to get the land registered, which had been registered during the British Mandate, the Jordanian period, and but not in the Israeli. This one captured my heart and heart of another friend who was on the tour with me. He was a Quaker, and the family, the farm I'm going to share briefly an overview of the farm about their struggle. Their struggle really represents the struggle of Palestinians and Israelis for land. Traveled with the Nassar family now for since 2007. We have traveled in 25 states, over 40 or 50, 45 cities and towns, 53 universities and 183 faith-based groups, Jewish congregations, to Muslim temples, to Christian churches, with the simple message of we refuse and to love your neighbor. They love your enemies also. And it's been a rich, wonderful trip, an unanticipated event in my life, and still connected with that family. He will be coming to Atlanta actually in the spring. Have some opportunities to share the story. So one more, and then I'm going to end with a big note. Gideon, if you would prepare that for me, that would be great. Do that. This is a former Yanni is a former member of the Alani Brigade, a commander of the company of the Army, the Red Army, and he was assigned to the area of Hebron, in the southern region. And he he put his rifle down and joined a group called the Combatants for Peace, a Palestinian, an Israeli former soldier, traveled in our country with a message of brotherhood and using weapons against one another is not the way to live. Nurture, share human rights that are all exposed to. And I went to his mashab. Mashab is a woods that makes money. So that's down in the Negev desert. I took a bus down that, a public bus from the center of Jerusalem. And there he picked me up at night and spent the night. His family were from Argentina. I speak Spanish. For a couple of years. And so I joined him for Shabbat in Spanish and grew to love this relationship and followed through for several years on trips. I make a point. And one of the days he was taking me out to the old community he lives in, or the remnants of Israeli Palestinian homes. Talked about the way he was playing Palestinian. So that's a cross section of my experience, the variety of situations, living situations in the country, and if I had a chance to talk with that student that said, you will know what life is like for me, I had a much clearer picture of what she meant. So I'm going to close with this. I have one poem to share. It's written by a poet laureate of Palestine. And I'm going to close this. It's about 10 minutes. Is that okay? I don't want to keep you on this. 5 minutes. Okay. All right. Yeah. Good over here. And okay now. Thank you for helping. This video is done by family themselves, and it's not functional, but it'll get across.
You have the volume on the computer. Yeah. Do you have the volume on? There you go. Just need to
So we are at the Nassau's family farm that is located southwest of Zafra, about 6 miles. And we are on the hilltop, about 950 meters high above sea level, 2,000 feet. And our land is surrounded now by 5 Israeli Jewish settlements that are growing to become like small towns and cities. Now, the land was bought by my family more than 100 years ago. And when the family bought the land, they did 2 unusual things. The first thing they did, they registered the land. We have documents And the other thing, they moved from that time and they lived on the farm in a cave.
Here we have also Netherlands. We have 8 caves on the property. This cave of the family was family lived. I grew up in this cave where my father and my mother, the whole family, was working and slept the night in this cave and working in the day. Land, we have the olives, we have the grapes, we have the figs, apples, apricot, almonds. Yeah, so I have been learning what does the land mean because it's like a mother. So I grew up in this mentality that we have always to be strongly connected to the land and not leave the land.
So my father and uncle came to this farm as children. They grew up in the cave and then they continued the work until they passed away. My father died in 1976 and my uncle died in 1987. So all their years were living under occupation, Ottomans, English, and so on. And their hope was one day to establish something positive out of their land after death. In 1991, the Israeli authorities declared our farm as state land. We went to the military court to prove ownership. And in 2002, we brought this case to the highest court in Israel, the Supreme Court. And the case is still in the court until today. So more than 30 years in a legal battle with a big financial burden. But the positive outcome, we are still here. And we did not lose any part of the land, which makes it probably one of the unique cases that are still in court since 1991. Parallel to the legal battle, Israeli settlers tried with physical pressure to move us out. So they started attacking us here, cutting our trees, damaging our water tanks, threatening us with guns. And one of the big destructions we had in 2002, college trees were destroyed, and one also in 2014 by the military when they came to the valley and destroyed hundreds of fruit trees 10 days before the apricot harvest. We did not stop there. It was very painful, but we managed to repair the terraces and we planted new trees. It was a sign of hope to see many people from different countries coming together to plant the trees of hope in hope. So with physical pressure, we did not give up. We are still here. That difficult situation, what to do? Should we sit down and cry and wait for somebody to help? Should we react violently or should we leave? We said to ourselves, none of those options are good. We started the fourth way, a non-violent way of resistance, after saying we refuse to be victims, we refuse to hate, and we are acting based on our faith, and we are people who believe in justice. So with those four principles, we walk on a different path, and we created here a non-violent way of resistance, and we started the 10th of Nations. The 10th of Nations as a place, as a way to invest our frustration positively and to create out of this difficult and negative story something positive that will help us to maintain our positive spirit, but also to encourage more people. So, of course, on this farm, which is located in what is called Area C, under Israeli military control, we have no access to running water, no electricity, and no building permit. And by the way, we have more than 20 demolition orders for structures, including tents. So what to do in solving this issue? We said nothing is impossible. So for electricity, we installed a solar power system. For water, we are depending on rainwater collected in systems. And since we are not allowed to build on the ground, we started renovating existing caves. And we started to think in a different way. And also, we started to recycle the gray water to be used for irrigation. We have also compost toilets, and the plan, and the hope is that to show that things are possible. Even in a difficult situation, we are able to make it. So with the 10th of Nations, we started to say what we received, we wanted to give to other people. That's why we opened the farm for people to come and see, and then go back home motivated to tell our story, but also to become peacemakers in their own community. So we do every year between January and March a tree planting campaign. We invite people to sponsor trees, to plant trees, because when we plant a tree, we believe in the future. We make the land productive, but also we learn that peace should grow from the ground and up like an olive tree. We have children's summer camps, and the idea is to do a summer camp with about 50 kids from Bethlehem area, from refugee camps, who are living in a closed area behind walls and concrete walls. So the idea is that to bring them out of their situation and to connect them with the land, but also to educate them that you are able to make a difference. We want to encourage them to stand up and play a role in shaping their societies. So we focus on creative workshops like paintings, music, and theater, and mosaic. And again, it's about investing hope in those children. We have other camps like the wheat harvest in May, the apricot harvest in June, the almond harvest in July, the grape harvest in August, and in September, the fig harvest, end of October, we end up with the olive harvest. So we have always international volunteers for short and long term. Of course, since March 2020, we do not have any international presence, including volunteers here because of the Corona crisis. And we hope that people will start to come soon, because it is very difficult to see the farm without international presence. International presence was and still very helpful. Because of the international presence here, the attacks from settlers stopped in 2002, since we started to have international volunteers and presence. But we want also the volunteers to go back home motivated to do something positive, with our lives, but also to become a peacemaker in their own community. Our journey continues. Of course, we have a long struggle, a legal struggle. We have difficulties on the ground, and also recently, but we need to move forward and not to look backwards. The suffering is not the end of the story. We need to continue our journey and our struggle for justice, always with faith, with love, and hope.
Just wanted to close with a prayer of this poem, if I may. Yes, this is a poem that written by Mahmoud Darwish, The Message for Us All. The interesting thing is that I'm going into the details of this particular poem, but I think this was read by a man who was an Israeli commando when they were traveling with a partner who was a combatant of these Palestinians. And Palestinian was not able to be there. So Yaniv translated the English into from Arabic into Hebrew to English so that the audience could hear it. So here's this wish for all of us. It's called Think About the Other. When you're making your breakfast, think about the other. Don't forget the food for the doves. When you are making your wars, think about the others. Don't forget those who seek peace. When you're paying for your water bills, think about the others. Don't forget those who live in tents. Don't forget those who drink from the clouds. When you are returning to your own home, think about the others and say, that we are thinking about the others, the distant others. Think about yourself and say, I wish I were a candle in the dark. Thank you. So, I have a bibliography if you want to have resources of additional information. My wife and I produced a book called Stories I Never Knew. This is not a book tour. I'm not out for selling the books. I make a penny on the book, but you can get it through Amazon, which talks much more in detail about people that I met along the way. So, thank you for your support and the work that you're doing here in your own community. And to our friends in Liberia and Cameroon, great to have you with us too.
I just wanted to add, it's a sort of appraisal of your presentation that falls in line with our Rotary International President, which is what you see on this flag right there. It says right here, yeah, creating or create hope in the world. I think your theme for today suits squarely in that, and I want to applaud you. Just the Israelis and the Palestine situation is applicable everywhere, and in Cameroon, they will resonate with you. And we take away from here is, I refuse to be enemies. 20% of the time is what divides us. But remember, the 80% of what unites us is love, love, and love. Thank you, Bill.
And you're a witness to that, Jimmy. Thank you so much for your work.
That was a beautiful program.
Yes.
You know, we have
my new friends.
Rick, can everybody just line here?
Hold on just a minute.
Well, we have a presentation.
Okay. Oh.
This is an appreciation for being with us, presented by created by Miss Carol. And what we do with our speakers is that we present our book to the library in your name. And if you would sign the plate that goes in the book, and then it will be put in the Tyrone Library.
Oh, that's sweet. That's wonderful. That's unanticipated. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you.
Got it. Okay.
So, could we get a picture?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
A little while and never had my picture taken so much.
Oh, yeah, you really are. We're picture taker.
You're never in pictures. You are never in the picture.
I can do it, so let me take one first.
What are we doing?
Oh, my gosh.
Well, if you didn't know you was going to have your picture.
I just said, I've never had my picture taken so much in my life.
We're just getting started.
So, some on this side.
You know, while I joined it, we just decided to make all these pictures. Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Rick, you can be in the middle.
Yeah, you can stand where you want. Come on, Ron.
Yes,
Right, thank you. 1, 2, 3. You just done 5.
Do you sub there?
I had to go there.
This man can make a selfie.
Oh, okay.
The best I've ever seen.
That's it.
See, he does it.
All right, 1, 2, 3.
How many will you make?
Yes.
3, 2, 1.
1. All right, thank you.
And this is every time you see me, you'll think thank you so much. I will go over.
Yeah.
So we're just, look at that, he even gets the line.
I'm gonna do a four-way test.
Where's everybody going?
I just turned my phone away. I'm coming back.
This weekend.
The four-way test is on.
Always, yep.
Gavel.
I like them. Very nice. That's why I took them.
She narrows.
Don't say anything. This educated.
I just like that. I really understand.
Well, it's helpful.
Yes.
Emailed everyone.
Would everyone please stand for the four-way test of things we think, say, and do? Is it the truth? The fair and lawful service. Turn.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you, everybody online. We will be, give me the next 30 minutes and we will start our business meeting. All right, thank you. I have this video for you.
I was just making sure that I'm.
Just to kind of keep y'all informed.